Hello, welcome to another Lumen Sports feature spotlight. My name is James, and today we're going through the physical testing module. So, the physical testing module allows you to report on an individual level or a team level. You're able to report on manually entered physical testing results or data that's coming automatically from our APIs with Hawk Dynamics or Vold. So, you can build these reports out here at an individual level in the athlete's profile or at a team level on this left-hand side here under team testing. So how does the data get in? We're going to start with the manually entered data first. So over on the left-hand side here, you're under apps and physical testing. What you'll be able to do is physically enter, like you would in like an Excel spreadsheet, the data types that you're not getting pulled in from an API. So a lot of our users will be manually entering physical testing data, like let's say range of motion for sit and reach or for shoulder. Whether it's testing batteries or screening batteries that they're doing on a semi-regular to regular basis, they'll be able to add that data manually into here. Think if you're recording it on a spreadsheet, you can record it into Lumen, and that will then link to the athlete's profile, and you'll be able to report on it and compare and all of that. Don't know what's happened to my video, but I'm sure it'll come back. There it is. Let's rock and roll and show you how you add in those results. So top right-hand corner, we just hit new. We select our athlete types, whether we're just doing an individual screening or whether we're doing something for a big testing day across a group. We can select who we want to do the testing for using the drop downs and the prompts here. And then on the right hand side here, we're able to select what test types we want to do. So let's just go sit and reach, keep it nice and simple, sit and reach, and maybe a knee wall. Cool. So it looks like I've got a big screening day ahead of me. I've got a bunch of athletes coming in. I'm able to just punch in the results that we've got here for certain tests, and that will log to the athlete's profile, and away we go. We can pick as many tests as we like through here, and you might be thinking, how many tests do we have in Lumen? Well, back on this front page here under physical testing, the page that we were at before, you'll be able to click test library, have a look through there, search the library, see what we've got. If you need to add something new in there because you're doing a test that we don't necessarily have here as part of default, just go to the top right hand corner here and create your new test and follow the prompts here to put in the relevant units of measurement. So based on the measurement type that I select here, I'm going to get different prompts, which is ultimately going to help give context to the platform. From a speed point of view, we want to know what unit of measurement you're using, we want to know what's higher or lower, and all of that's going to go into the context for the reporting that we're going to see in just a sec. Another thing that you might see on this page is batteries. So if you're doing testing or screening quite a lot, you might want to create a testing battery. And all that is just a group of different test types that you can create to automatically just hit testing battery in your testing screen instead of hitting that big drop down. So, to give you an example for those familiar with the AFL Combine battery, similar to the NBA Combine or NFL Combine, you'll be able to just create a batch of tests. So when I go in to create my new testing library, instead of going, we're doing a big testing day, I want to select from each test type that we've got here. What I can do is go to batteries and then select AFL Combine, and it's just going to pre-populate and make things move a little bit faster. So I recommend that if you're doing a lot of testing all the time. So that's how the data gets in manually. How does it get in automatically? Through the API with either Hawken or Vold or Vold, that will be done through the settings. Just triple check if you don't see this if you can't see this data and can't see the integrations through the settings, it may be a subscription thing. So just triple check your subscription to make sure that you've got the Force integrations enabled, and then from there it'll be a setup through the settings here, which you can find more about on Lumen support, or contact your administrator or the Lumen support staff to be able to help you configure all that. But that's just a one-time setup. Once that's connected, the two systems are going to talk to each other, and the data is automatically going to flow from Hawken or Vold into Lumen, into the right profiles, and you'll be able to visualize it from there. So let's get into the fun stuff and visualizing the data. First, we're going to go into an example of visualizing this data from an individual level, and you can get to the individual's profile either through this front page here, just clicking on their name, or going into athletes and then filtering from there. But if I hit the athlete's name, I'll be able to go over to physical testing, and I'll be able to see the data and the views through the physical testing tab. Just going to jump to one that I built out before. And when you first go on to the physical testing tab, if you don't have any data or if you haven't built out any views, you won't see anything in here. What you'll need to do is add a new view or create a new view. And we're just going to go through a little example here. So I'll hit create new view. Maybe I want to do something around force plate metrics. And you'll be prompted here to look at visibility settings and who this applies to. So you can dictate, okay, do I want this to go across all of my athletes, or do I want to create something specific just for this athlete? And then you can see here, who do I want to share it with? You can choose whether you want to share it with individuals, or you can choose whether you want to share it with certain groups, or you can choose whether you want to share it with certain roles within the platform, so all the other administrators or the performance managers get to see this. Or if they just have access to this profile, then they can see it. And you can dictate, do I want them to be able to meddle with it and edit it, or do I just want them to be able to see what we've got going on here? Once you hit create view, you'll get to this sort of blank canvas here for you to start painting Picasso, and in the top right hand corner here you'll be able to hit add widget. What you'll be seen with initially, you won't see these views that I've got here. This will populate, these little views will start populating as you create widgets to just give you a running start. So if someone's already built a counter movement widget, that's a line graph and looking at jump height, you'll just be able to click it and it'll populate into your dashboard. But if you're brand new, you'll be adding a new widget and you'll be going over to the screen here on the right hand side. So the widget type's pretty self-explanatory. You can see in the top right hand corner, based on the different widgets, you might have different visualization capabilities, of course, but then there might be some differences in things like benchmarking and how you can position the metrics, but that's a bit of a self-explanatory, a self-exploratory thing for you to go through yourself. But just for example's sake today, we're going to go through the line graph. We're going to just call this, let's say, jump height, and we're going to, let's go CMJ height. And we're just going to go through some examples here. So let's go test type. When I hit test type, it's now going to populate either all the possible results, or if I click here, just show me the results that the athlete has data stored against. I'll just turn this off for example case. And then you'll see all the possible data points that we can start reporting on coming through from your integrations that you've set up, or the manually entered data types. So the manually entered data types will just show under Lumen, or again, you can just search from it in here. So we want a counter movement jump, and then I'll be able to select the metrics that I want to see. Let's go, jump height, pop that in, and away we go. If I just go back in here and to edit, you'll see that I can add, on the line graphs in particular, I can add more metrics. So maybe I want, jump height, I want takeoff velocity, Am I blind? Velocity at takeoff, there we go. And then maybe I want some sort of eccentric. Let's go braking RFD, sure. Want to pull those things in together and visualize it on the one line graph. Bang, away we go, that's great. I'm sure my video will come back, let's see. But then let's say we want to compare that to certain benchmarks. Let's just go jump back here to the line graph, sorry, the jump height for one line graph example here. If I've got no trend selected under trend line, what it will do is just compare it with my most recent result. So this prompt here that you see for me increasing by 3.3% is because my most recent result compared to my last result is an increase of 3.3%. So that's what happens if you go no trend line. But I can then start comparing it with my yearly average, or I can start comparing it with all-time average Z-score, or a fun one for a lot of those that are doing a lot of testing would be comparing it to different benchmarks. So I can select in here, teams or groups that I have in the Lumen platform and start comparing this athlete with my whole team. So that's a lot of fun there. And then over time, what you'll have is a number of different reports here that you can look at. This example just from a monitoring point of view, force plate wise, and this one here is just from a bit of a physical testing battery point of view, some data points coming through. You can build as many views as you like, you can share it with as many people as you like, have at it. From a team point of view, this top left-hand corner actually works in a very similar way. If I go into team testing, what I'll have is the ability to drop down and see the different views that I've got, or I can edit and configure the views that I've got going or create a new view. One of the main differences is the visualization type that we've got for tables. So if I go top right hand corner here, hit add widget, and I go to a new widget, we can see some of the ones that we've had before in the individual level, line graph, KPI, etc. but the table is a really handy one, and it's really handy because what we'll be able to do in a table, from a table point of view, is combine metrics from multiple tests. So if I just go into this one and edit this one, you'll see what I mean. I'm pulling in a test type from a counter movement jump. I'm getting these metrics, but I've also selected a single leg jump, I've also selected a beep test, and I've also selected weight. So these are 4 different test types that I'm pulling in, and multiple metrics from within those test types to create this team screening, or what's called a team screening dashboard in here. As with all the reports that you'll see at an individual level or a group level, I'll be able to move these around to visualize them how I want. I can make them a little bit taller or shorter. I can go through the settings here and start auto sizing things, playing around with the size and the height, and that's the case for all the widgets, on all the views. So have at it there. One final piece of news here. Let me just jump into this view, and that's a view on the athlete level. So on the right hand side here, I've just opened up the Lumen Sports app. And what you can do now is tell your athletes that they can review some of this data on their phone. So in the right hand corner here under more, you can go to stats and you'll see physical testing here. They'll see the test that they have data against. So if they don't see a test here, they don't have data against it. And then they'll be able to click into the test type and see their progress. So let's go the last year for me on my 20-meter sprint. I can see the times that I've got and achieved for these certain tests over time. They might need your help, let's say from a force plate point of view, in selecting the metrics that need to be seen. Obviously with a speed thing, from a speed test it's pretty straightforward, but from a force plate you can imagine the metrics coming through, they might just need your help in selecting the metrics. But that helps you with communicating the progress of your athletes. And then for those wondering if you can export some of these reports here, not at the current stage, but let's say for example you wanted to share the reporting from Lumen, you can always screenshot the report here, or you can Command P, save as a PDF, and run with and share the data that way. So one to consider here for sharing the data that way. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this overview of the physical testing platform in Lumen Sports. If you have any questions, please hit us up, comment below, or come through the support channels and we'll help you there. Have a great day.